Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule. This is the Roundtable with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We're joined with Malissa Longo, Katie Carr, Anne-Marie Siegel, Doctor, Yvette Blackman-Tom, Doctor, Susan V. Gruner, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, PhD. Yvette Blackman's a marathon runner. That's pretty cool, too. We have too many doctors. Dr. Muhammad Noor, Jesse Taggart, TJ Jackson Bay, Cirroc Lofton, as you know, and Natasha Louise. So somebody said something. We've been talking for a little while about a few fun things, but somebody said something that was a great question. Jesse was telling us about how, actually just tell everybody real quick about what you do with how you meld together Dungeons and Dragons and your Star Trek Online stuff.
Yes, so I've been playing the official Star Trek Adventures role-playing game. And our bridge crew, we're on a really tiny ship with no holodeck. So instead of playing poker, we played Dungeons and Dragons. The 400th anniversary. It was like an archaeology find or something. But from the mindset of our Star Trek personas, we created Dungeons and Dragons characters. So kind of Inception level role-playing.
And
Pretty
you said
awesome.
your version of playing like poker with the bridge crew.
Yeah, it's our
So
senior
cute.
staff bonding thing. We get around, we play together, and our little ship, I'm the chief medical officer, and as an experiment, because Voyager's back by now, we have the Mark II Andy Dick version of
Lucky.
the EMH.
Oh,
So
funny.
I decided to download all of the rule sets of D&D into its database, and then we imported it into the game, and I told it to protect us like it would the crew, suggesting like a cleric or something. It decided to become a gnomish paladin. So our NPC, the EMH program, is now the paladin healer for our D&D group. So we're like testing its limits because, you know, what could go wrong with just downloading the rule sets into it?
That's
Love
so
it.
cool. So you guys know what the question is, right? Because there's going to be a twist. Okay. So the question is, pick any Star Trek character, and if they were playing D&D, what would their character be? I know.
Anything about D&D?
Well, you don't have to. Like, for example, let's say Neelix might want to be a warrior because he wants to stop being so silly and be a tough guy.
But
or
I don't
something
know
like
what kind of characters D&D has. I'll just, except for like whoever like runs it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it though.
Or just think of Barkley. You know, what kind of alternate persona would
I'll say
they
that
play
Neelix
with?
is the guy. What do you call it? Like the dungeon master? Is that?
Oh, the like storyteller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Neelix. He's like trying to think of morality boosts.
So
for
he
the
would.
crew.
So all of the Dungeons and Dragons nerds right now are screaming. Then he would be a bard, obviously.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sure.
Muhammad, you agree with that?
I totally agree with that.
But actually, favorite Chinese restaurant growing up in Beloit, Wisconsin, who had like the best wonton soup ever. It was like this adorable couple, and the man was Chinese, and the girl was actually like the granddaughter of Gary Gygax, who made D&D.
Oh,
So-
wow.
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 That's the one thing I know about it.
Small world.
I've
Daughter
never
Daughter or
played D&D.
granddaughter?
Well, Katie, so what do you think? What Star Trek character what would they pick as their D&D character?
Okay, can you tell me this? Okay, what's a paladin? Because I watched the show Dark Crystal, and there was this kind of a species, and they were called paladins. And I know they have nothing to do with each other, but
Not
what is
completely,
the
other than
paladin
they
do?
are, think of a holy knight empowered by their deity's
Like
protection.
Bajorans.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So they're a heavily armored knight, but they have a holy inspired magical powers from whoever their deity happens to be.
They always say that on Big Bang Theory too.
And there's a dungeon master, right?
Yep, that's the storyteller who is trying to herd all the cats, so to speak.
Okay,
and getting
all
everybody to be in the same story.
Well, then I would see Garrick as the dungeon master.
Ooh.
I definitely could see him.
Because I remember it when the What We Leave Behind documentary, it opens up and he's kind of telling you something, and I think Andy Robinson has a really good like storyteller voice.
Ooh, I give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, I was inspired by Muhammad's reaction. I was like, oh, that's right. Muhammad taught us that we can react. We can do these things. What about you, Malissa? You can also do a World of Warcraft character. I mean, they're all kind of the same family.
Yeah, but yeah, I know nothing as well. Well, talking about paladins, I would think that Ducat would see himself as a paladin. You know,
but no one will join his league
with holy.
Best villains are the heroes of their own story.
Exactly. He would be the hero, so that's my guess.
Interesting.
Knowing
Very good.
Else.
Well, Yvette.
No idea. When you guys said storyteller, dungeon master, I was always thinking about Picard because of his voice.
Right.
But I don't know. I like Garrick as the dungeon master. That was better. But
well, no, although he's really Cardassian, so every single session would be the exact same story.
That's true.
Very good knowledge. Very good.
Never-ending tragedy.
The never-ending tragedy.
Well, Sue.
I'm cheating. I'm looking at him.
That's okay. That's perfectly allowed. We don't expect you to know much about this.
Warlock,
Totally
wizard, sorcerer, rogue, a scoundrel who uses stealth and trickery to overcome obstacles and enemies. That sounds like Garak to me.
Or Quark.
Yeah, or Quark. Ranger, a warrior who combats threats on the edges of civilization.
Worf.
Well, 7 of 9 is already a ranger.
The sheer wishes it was him.
Totally.
Worf as a wizard.
I want something cooler here. Cleric, a priestly champion who wields divine magic in service of a higher power.
Cisco.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was just gonna say that.
Unwilling though.
Barbarian, a fierce warrior of primitive background who can enter a battle. Rage?
Oh, that's Mr. Woof.
Wow. I never played anything like this, but I was really into the games of Myst.
Oh yeah.
And Rhythm and stuff like that.
I absolutely I would get so addicted to that. I would literally be on my computer for like 2 days in a row without taking a shower or anything.
So many notes to take.
Those were great.
What's Myst? I don't know that one.
It was a game, a computer game where you have to solve puzzles and you would go to different time periods or different places. It was kind of like transporting to a different world. And
it wasn't interactive though; it was just one person.
But all different outcomes, all different things. The puzzles were really hard. I had to buy the Cheater's Handbook because some of them I would never get.
They were really hard. Yeah.
Up, down, down, BA, start. That's.
Yeah, I mean, there was like you had to pay attention to the storyline, and there was clues inside the book.
If I left, right, select, start. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good knowledge. All right, TJ, teach us a lesson here.
He's gonna put it.
Let's see. Kai Wynn is level 57. Heart rate. Cleric. she's a cleric healer of the pirates. I don't know. Oh yeah, the dungeon master is none of the people you said. It's Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
Of course.
And let's see. Let's see.
God, wouldn't it
who
be
else
great
we
if
got
Morgan
laying
Freeman
around here?
narrated Star Trek episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh my goodness.
So
so
what
good.
if he is the new voice of Q? And just have him narrating everything.
Epic.
On the computer.
They need to narrate some audio.
Mm-hmm. Did you have another one, TJ? Sound like you had
I'm gonna
another
put
one
it.
coming.
Geordie LaForge is Samuel L. Jackson's character in the movie Jumper. If anybody's ever seen that.
Oh, there.
We're doing.
It's when somebody said Paladin, that's just the place I remember hearing about a Paladin.
No, the only place I've heard of a paladin, his name was Hop. He was so cute. He was on Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, and then Netflix canceled it.
Oh, I know. I was
I
so
played
disappointed we didn't get more.
And the soundtrack in that show was so good. Magical show.
Let's see. We need an orc. Who could be an orc?
O'Brien.
That's what it
would
is.
be perfect.
I'm just
orcs.
waiting for the first person to mention the new Klingons. Because, the internet is exploding with orc references.
Well, there are some other aliens in Discovery that looked like orcs, or was it? I don't know, but it wasn't. Was it the Betelgeuse?
Wait, what if we throw an Orion in there? An Orion male in there.
Oh, I could see an Orion male as a barbarian.
So that brings us to you, Jesse.
Yeah, Tindy disagrees with you.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jesse?
Well, I would say Uhura as a bard. She already loves to sing.
Mm-hmm. And as Sue well knows, the bards like to tell stories and sing songs.
Yeah, I could definitely see going back to those old scientists and having Lieutenant Uhura.
Scientist.
Although so do Klingons. They love telling stories with their operas.
Yeah, their sagas.
Operas.
I do think it's kind of unfair that we're now going to Muhammad. We should have started with him because he had his answer from the very beginning, probably. He was already, he's been waiting this whole time. He already knows it.
Well,
nobody stole his answer yet.
No, nobody's. Well, I had an easy one and I had a really deep cut one.
Ooh.
So the easy one would be something like Riker as a ranger. It's like, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's easy. This is a deep cut one. We have to really know Dungeons and Dragons. Do you guys remember the Beholder?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a floating head with one eye and like 10.
Martok.
Yeah.
Martok.
Amazing.
That's my deep cut.
Solid. What about you, Natasha? What do you got?
So I'd go with O'Brien for the barbarian because he has that Irish temper, and he totally can get it done. In the bard, I would definitely go with Jake Sisko.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Storyteller.
He knows how to tell stories.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That I did.
That's a A+ answer right there. Well, Cirroc, what do you got?
I'm still trying to figure out all the terminology being used. I'm just now understanding Star Trek. I think you guys put Dungeons and Dragon on me.
I know.
A whole nother level.
Just play make believe. It's fun.
The level of complexity.
Or how about what would Jake be?
Besides a bard, because that's pretty solid.
Okay. And any sort of fantasy medieval world, what kind of character would Jake portray if he was on the holodeck?
Oh, that's interesting, Matt. Like medieval. I don't know. Probably. Whew. I have no idea which the characters do. But I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind jousting or sword fighting.
I could totally see Jake tagging along with Miles and Bashir, to the holodeck and trying out one of their adventures with them.
And then remember,
if he wants to be jousting, then he could be a knight for sure.
Remember Way of the Warrior, Kira and Dax in the medieval. So, perfect.
Solid.
Kira would be a knight.
Definitely.
More than a maiden.
Knight of Bajor.
So I was thinking a good character would be obviously. I mean, this one seems so obvious. It would be Ensign Kim playing. He would definitely want to be a wizard. That way when they're playing D&D on the ship, then of course Janeway's going, "You're a wizard, Harry." Thank you.
Yep. I had a feeling you were going there, Ryan.
Thank you. That's what.
There's the dad.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But I have to say that's a Harry Potter joke, but that does not mean I'm a fan of Harry Potter. Sorry, guys. Don't mistake it. I don't like Harry Potter.
Totally didn't get it.
It works too. In the sense
Lord of
that,
the Rings.
It works too in the sense that science is the opposite of magic. So, Harry would want the thing that's kind of the opposite. Right? So it makes sense too.
Thank you, Mohammed.
His dad jokes.
Just got an email from Kate Mulgrew saying, "Please stop doing it,
Ryan." No, reread it. It says Ray. She didn't even get my name right.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
Did any of you guys see last night the thing for Georgia with Stacey Abrams? And
I missed it.
Nobody. I was there, and I was disappointed that there's nobody there from Deep Space Nine.
I think it's because Jonathan Del Arco organized the last one, so it's just like who he knows, and so that's why it was like so many TNG and Picard people. And then it's kind of like a similar group this time.
Okay.
Cirroc and I are like, we don't know what this is.
Stacey Abrams, is that a fun thing?
Check the vote. Yeah.
No, I did something along the lines of fundraising for that, but I wasn't invited to this event. So
but you're right. It's probably because Del Arco was on TNG and he was on Picard, so he's probably just calling in the favors.
Exactly.
Of people he knows.
So there weren't like people from Voyager, or Deep Space Nine, or Enterprise for that matter. It's the last one or this one when I was looking through the names.
There's no people from Enterprise in anything ever. People forget Enterprise exists.
It's so sad.
No. I have faith of the heart. People still remember.
When was the last time you saw anybody from Enterprise on anything?
When Star Trek Day did their thing, they didn't even have Archer on the poster.
Oh no!
Oh god! Right.
Yeah. I was like, geez.
I have heard behind the scenes. I know Scott Bakula tried to stay away from fandom because he was still burnt out from the Quantum Leap fandom. But I've met several of the other actors at conventions, and they're so fun and friendly. I really wonder if they have the same similar camaraderie that we've seen from TNG and from Discovery on the set, because they seem like such friendly people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny when you think of the captains and you think, okay, William Shatner, you think Star Trek. Patrick Stewart, you think Star Trek. You think Avery Brooks, you think Star Trek. You think Kate Mulgrew, you think Star Trek. Then you say Scott Bakula, then you're like, Quantum Leap.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. CIS, New Orleans.
Am I the only one that didn't like Quantum Leap? I could not watch
saw
it.
Quantum Leap.
I watched one and I hated it.
Oh, I liked Quantum
Such
Leap.
a good show. I really wish that they will somehow manage to put out a movie and get Sam home.
Yeah.
I actually just got one of my new Hallmark Christmas ornaments this year. I just got the Charles Tucker, so I've got my Enterprise represented now.
So are you telling me that I should watch Quantum Leap now? Can you watch it on Netflix?
I'm not sure what network it's currently on.
Don't watch.
I mean, technically Netflix, because the last time I marathoned it, I did it with the mail-in DVDs from Netflix. But I'm not sure who has it streaming.
I remember.
If you're going to watch something, you have to watch Michael Chiklis.
Oh no!
Which is so good,
right?
Yes.
We got to do that in honor of Aaron.
That's true.
Oh my gosh! Do you know that Munoz, who was in the episode you reviewed today, or that you reviewed last week, Starship Down? He's actually in the Shield.
Yeah.
And I have my sights set on trying to get him for one of his other episodes.
What a relief!
He's in it 2 more times.
To answer your question,
Aaron loved the Shield. Yeah, no, just for that.
And to answer your question real quick, Sue, if you want to watch Quantum Leap, you can see it on NBC.com for free. Oh, thanks, Katie. Without signing up or anything. The reason I know that is because we did watch that on another show. Because I remember liking Quantum Leap when I was a kid, and that's why when they cast Bakula, thank you, Scott Scapula. When they cast him for Enterprise, I was super excited. I was like, "Wow, that's the perfect," because it's between original, or it was before original series, but it was like later on, decades later. So it's like he has the perfect amount of like cheesy factor, but also kind of a seriousness.
That's true.
And I was so excited for it. Anyway, the point is, when I went back earlier this year and watched the first episode of Quantum Leap, I was not aware that it wasn't very good.
It doesn't hold up well with time.
It didn't. Like, I remember liking it when I was a kid, but when I watched it now, I was like,
you were a kid?
Boy, I'm like,
Cocaine.
what is this?
Me with TOS. Oh, is this over?
I watched it a couple of times. I remember watching it when it came out. What decade was that?
80s?
Yeah,
late 80s or early 90s. What about you guys? Have you seen it recently? Do you like it?
Not recently.
Not recently.
Come out Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
So recently.
And I watched a couple of them. I shouldn't say that I hated it. I think it was on a night that I worked or something. I just don't remember watching it, except for a few times. I'm thinking it was kind of weird.
Well, like so many shows, you got to push past the pilot.
Yeah,
maybe you're right.
That's true.
Well,
because I loved it when I was a kid, so I must have been better than that.
It was the late 2000s when I did the Netflix marathon by DVD, so I binged it over a couple months. Unlike nowadays when I can just turn on CBS All Access and watch any of the treks.
Well, and I think there's hits and misses of episodes in that show.
Oh yeah.
I started watching it. It came on television or something, and one episode that I watched enlightened me to what privilege looks like, and I was like, holy crap, this is totally what it is. And it's where Sam, is that Becket's character?
Beckett.
As a white man, gets put into a black man's body in the 50s, I think it was. And he enters this restaurant, goes up to the counter like nothing, like he always has, and everybody's like, well, what are you doing here? Why are you sitting up at the counter with everyone else? And I was just like, holy shit. This is it. That's exactly what it is. He was sitting down at the counter with his privilege and not realizing what other people were seeing. So that was a really good episode, but the one after it, I think, was kind of a miss. So, I think it's a mixed bag.
But they were really good with that social commentary, right?
1989.
Like the one where he ended up in the body of somebody with Down syndrome. They were really good about just changing the perspective of exploring completely different lives.
I have to jump off. It's great seeing you guys.
Bye.
Mohammed, thanks for joining us.
Great holiday. If I don't see you before.
Yeah.
Happy holiday.
Thank you.
I think that was the best thing about that show, was getting to see somebody in somebody else's shoes, right? and living that out, and then getting to touch on those social issues. But I was going to ask if anybody here had seen Avery in A Man Called Hawk or Spencer for Hire.
Yes. Yep.
Katie, yep.
That is Cirroc. That's how I got my mom to watch Deep Space Nine, because before I had seen Trek, she had always talked about this show called Spencer for Hire, and Avery Brooks played Hawk. So when I finally watched DS9, and then I was at a summer ballet intensive, I came back up and I told her about this show, and I said Avery Brooks is in it, and I was like, it's that Hawk character you're talking about, and so we put it on, and then during that same time, I actually started watching Spencer for Hire. I was like, it's Hawk. But yeah, he was great in that. He made Spencer for Hire. I mean, Robert Urich was good, but
yeah, I think so. I kind of agree with you, which is why they made the spin-off of Spencer for Hire, A Man Called Hawk.
He was great, and his one-liners in it were just, and his glasses, I mean, just brilliant.
Yeah, he was a badass character in that show. As a matter of fact, when we would be out together, just doing stuff, when people would walk up to Avery and recognize him, very rarely was it a Captain Cisco moment. Most of the time it was Hawk. Hey, Hawk, Hawk. What's up, Hawk? So, most of the people recognize it as Hawk.
1989. I've never heard of this show, A Man Called Hawk.
Really?
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, and a lot of actors that are famous today got their start on that show. Eric LaSalle is one of them. You remember him in ER and Coming to America with the Soul Glow. I mean, there's a whole bunch of actors that got their start on that show, including Delroy Lindo. Samuel L. Jackson was on that show as a young actor. Angela Bassett was on there as a young actress.
Dina.
So there's a whole bunch of really fine actors that ended up becoming really big successes, and that got their early start in that show.
Have to check it out.
I will be going to 2 nursing homes and a men's group home.
So Ryan, can you do your Google foo and find out where we can see Spencer for Hire?
I can check.
Yeah, it's funny because Avery and I were doing the Dragon Con convention in Atlanta, and I was walking around Atlanta, going to the different vendors, and one of the vendors there had A Man Called Hawk on DVD, the whole show. And so I went and I bought the DVD, and I came back to my table, and I told Avery, I said, Avery, look what I just bought. And he's like, where'd you get that? And I'm like, the guy over there, he's got it on DVD. And turned out Avery didn't have a DVD copy.
Wow.
So he went and got one too.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I have the complete. I think it's 3 seasons of A Man Called Hawk on the DVD that I bought at Dragon Con.
So Spencer for Hire can be viewed. Spencer for Hire can be viewed on Amazon Prime free. I'm not. I think you probably have to have Amazon Prime to watch it for free. I don't know.
I was going to chime in and say it's on Amazon Prime because I have Prime.
Me too. So I don't know if it's free only to us or if it's just free to anybody that goes on Amazon. But that's where it is. That's where it's housed.
Definitely gonna have to track that down.
And there's a holiday Christmas episode, and my mom and I are gonna watch it. Oh my god, the way Avery performs his lines in that. He said he walks into Spencer's house with, I think, champagne or something to wish him a Merry Christmas. and he says Merry Mary. He doesn't even say Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
He like does this in his deep voice, Merry Mary. So sometimes I say that to people. I'm just like Merry Mary.
And then he would answer questions when Spencer would ask him a question, and should we go this way or do this, and his answer would be affirmative or negative, and sometimes he would say negativo. And then another thing that Avery did as this Hawk character, he had this super serious look on his face, as Hawk. He was like a stone cold killer type of character, but like a heroic killer, like the Punisher or something, somebody who did it for good reasons. But one of the things he would do on the show is he would keep us a really cold stone face and then smile really briefly, like that. Like it's the fastest smile you've ever seen. And that would be him laughing at a joke or something. If somebody was probably telling a joke, he would look and and I've never seen any actor do that before in a performance where they just flash the smile and throw it away real quick. So he was definitely invented. Like he calls it a mythological character. So he always refers to mythology. And Avery, as a professor, always looks at these deeper meanings and characters. And for Hawk, it was about mythology and him creating this character that really had no real answers to origin or family connections. Nothing really holding him tied to the material world that we're all kind of caught up in.
Now I have to find this show.
And a kind of a little trivioid is Carolyn McCormick, who played Minuet in TNG. She plays Spencer's second girlfriend in season 2, I think. Her character name is Rita.
Oh, whoa, that's deep knowledge.
I'm like,
Anne Marie's blown away.
Wow, TJ just eyebrow raised just right there. I saw it. Deep knowledge.
Interesting.
No, when I watched it, I was like, oh, it's Minuet.
He drove a BMW 635 in the show. Seriously?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he was the first person. Yeah, and just a little reference on that because Avery's giving me some background on that. When he was doing the show, he was the first person to debut that BMW 635 that came out, which was the first of the 6 series line of BMWs, and it was so successful having Hawk driving this car. It was actually blowing up the BMW to such extreme proportions that BMW contacted Avery and asked if he would be a spokesperson for the company. And I think his request was yes, but that means I get to keep the BMW.
Nice.
In the show. So. Yeah, TJ, you like that one, right? So he's been he was actually approached by BMW at that time to help launch the campaign to promote the 635.
Wow.
Yeah. I wish they would do that show again. I think that would be a great redo since they like redoing old shows.
Who do you think would be a good actor to play Hawk in a reboot? I know.
No, it's a difficult thing. The thing about Hawk, which made him so layered, was
says Cirroc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, why isn't this back on the air? Why am I talking about these stories anymore? But
I agree with you, Alex. It sounds good to me. But one of the things that Hawk was so good at also was he did so many other little subtle things. If you go back and watch the episodes, just like Avery did with Far Beyond the Stars, and he took his knowledge about the world and kind of coded it into the episode of Far Beyond the Stars with the piano in the kitchen, which is a tribute to Thelonious Monk. The books that he was reading on the table, all of those things were kind of inserted by Avery Avery also inserted his own knowledge of these kinds of things in Hawk. And if you pay attention, you'll see him playing the xylophone, this kind of version of the xylophone, which is an African xylophone. And he has these African statues and things, and he's always wearing these patterns and prints. So he's always trying to make sure that people were aware of these very subtle, nuanced ways that he was paying tribute to African culture, to African American history. And so those things are important for Avery, and he also infuses them into whatever work that he does.
Well, it was very important. It was very important to African American and Black Americans watching, because when he was a Black person on that show, but when we saw his home had those statues and he wore those prints, it made it real, because that's what we do. You know, we have those statues in our homes. We keep that the connection to the continent. You know, everybody's got something in their home that connects to the continent, or we wear those prints on certain days. You know, it just made it more real. You know, and because we call it Black Trek. I mean, that's what we call it. So it made it more of that. You know, and it was that it made Trek ours, basically. It made DS9 is our Trek. So those little things that was the best part about Cisco, is that he was truly a Black man, but that didn't mean anything. That's just who he was. But he was this captain who was Black, not a Black man. You know, he was just a Black
father.
Captain.
He was amazing.
And he never let that go. You know, it wasn't just, he wasn't trying to play a human. He was playing a Black man who was a captain. And that's, you know, that's who we are. We're Black people who do things, who are these people. So that's what I loved about it. Every time I saw him in one of those vests, I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
There's someone in our midst here that represents the continent every day on his head, and that's Mr. TJ Jackson Bay.
The Fez.
Yes, he does.
The Fez.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes, he does. Avery was also doing that with the hat that he wore in Far Beyond the Stars. I forgot the name of that hat, but it has a specific name to it. And it's of that time period as well, for the brothers that were conscious wearing those hats. Yep. So Avery's totally aware of those kinds of symbols and how meaningful they are for people who can see them and their eye catches. Oh, that's that fabric that they wear in. That's that fabric from Kenya. That's that thing. That's
just that little reminder.
Yep.
A little reminder. Yeah.
Yeah. So he always does that, and that's important to him because, you know, obviously he was the director of the National Black Arts Festival for several years, which took place in Atlanta. That's a huge event to organize. Artists from all around the world all gathered together in this one place, and that was something that Avery did while we were doing Deep Space Nine. So he would take time from recording, from directing, from working 18-hour days, and still plan an event as big as the National Black Arts Festival. So he was dedicated to those kinds of things. And just a little quick note too for posterity, somebody that was one of his mentors, Avery's mentors, was a guy by the name of Gordon Parks Sr. And those of you that want to know about Gordon Parks and the work that he's done as a photographer, as a filmmaker, this is an intelligent, really vastly worldly knowledge person that, you know, that had a lot of influence on Avery, and you know, Avery would tell me stories about being at Gordon Parks' house, and he'd say, reach underneath the sofa and grab that picture there. And Avery would reach under there and grab it, and he'd say, look at it. And he would look at it and say, that's a Picasso. So That's the kind of guy Gordon Park Sr. was. He keeps Picasso's just lying around different places. So that's kind of influenced. If you want to know a little bit about background about the kinds of people that Avery hung around or admired, Gordon Parks Sr. would be one of those too.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think every Star Trek fan that ends up watching this is going to be very happy to know that pretty much the one thing that we want to see more than anything is that Jake and Captain Sisko wasn't just an on-screen friendship and bond, but it's actually like that in real life, that we talk about Star Trek and your eyes light up, but we talk about Avery Brooks and your eyes light up just a little bit more. And you tell us stories that we would have never known otherwise. And he would have never told us or gone public with it. And it really is like a gift that you're here, talking about him, kind of passing on his legacy and giving us these little tidbits and saying it with such joy and passion and love. It's really cool. Really good to see.
It really is.
Yeah, something that he was able to instill in me, something that I try to carry on, and that is paying homage to the people before us that have carried the torch. We're not here by accident. We're here because people paved the way for us to be here. Important to make sure that we pay homage to those unsung heroes and to the great Black minds too that have also been a part of the development of what we've become. So
he was a photographer, musician and writer and film director.
Yes. Yes. One of the great photographers. Yep.
He lived to be 93.
Wow.
Wow, what a lifetime. That's amazing.
So we do have to go in a couple minutes, but before we do, I also want to make sure we don't miss this, that when we're talking about representing the continent and all that culture, everybody might know this by now, but if you don't, Cirroc's sister does some of the coolest designs. Some are Star Trek related. Most are African continent related, and they're gorgeous. They're beautiful. Sometimes you see us wearing them. She's got the Sisko Kid shirt, which is really cool. Cirroc's got a shirt that's got like African.
Show that. Yeah.
Oh, there's. Wait. Hang on. Let me spotlight that. Hang on 1 second. There it is.
With 9 bars, like Deep Space Nine.
That's
so cool. So cool. And then there's some that are like African designs, and there's the actual continent is one too that you have that's really cool. So anyway, check that out. It's called Abyssinian Kiosk. You can find out where that website is, or you can just click on the link below in this video. It'll say abyssiniankiosk.com. You can click on it, get all kinds of good stuff. TJ's pointing the way. We cannot recommend it enough. It's really cool stuff. And
a lot of people might not know what what that means.
Right. So Abyssinia is the ancient name of Ethiopia. Prior to it being called Ethiopia, it was also referred to as Abyssinia, and so therefore the Abyssinian Kiosk is a shout out to the word Abyssinia, which represents that part of the world. It's also known as the region of Kush. It's also known as
what?
Yeah. There's
cool.
the region of Kush. It's an ancient civilization, the Kushites. Ethiopians are Kushites or descended from Kush, and Kush itself has a name, is a biblical name referring to lineage that goes back to Nimrod and all kinds of stuff. So there's information out there. The more you dig, the more you find out more and more information.
Cool. Thanks for mentioning that, Sue.
Thank you.
So we do have to run, everybody at home, but definitely check that link out below. Also, check out Melissa Longo's link, Walking Art, made by Malissa, because she makes some of the coolest stuff on the internet. The internet's getting pretty big lately. It's going places. But this is one of the biggest online stores. Lots of really cool designs, lots of good stuff. I think we covered everything. Thanks everybody so much for joining us. Malissa, Katie, Anne Marie, Yvette, Sue, Jesse, TJ, and Natasha and Alex and Ryan. You're right. Yeah.
You're doing the 12 days content.
Right. So that's going to be a great time. Everybody's going to love it. You know, all the information is going to be down below. You're going to have fun. We're going to have fun. And nobody's going to be alone unless you want to, I guess. Sometimes we want to.
Unless I need a break from you.
All right. Always remember the 7th rule.